Hi, scapegoats feel a lot of sadness while they're in a relationship, and it's a lot of confusion, and it's because there's a lot of games that are being played. And one of those games is the blame game, and we're going to uncover that in just a minute. Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can heal and grow and overcome it. Today, everything is coming from my book, A Scapegoat No More Forever. You can find it on Amazon. I'll put a QR code on the screen. I will also have a link in the description. And there is a course available on my website that's always linked in the description. If you want to walk alongside of me as we go through the book, that's available for you too. Today is all about the blame game and why it's so painful to be the scapegoat in a relationship. So first off, most relationships where you're going to be scapegoated, chances are they start off with love bombing. When you're looking at a romantic relationship, when you're love bombed, it's so much, it's so great. It's better than anything you've ever had. You're treated better, you're cared for better, you're thought of better than anyone you've ever been with in your life. And we call that love bombing. And if you look at the cycle of abuse, when there is an abusive cycle, it starts out with the honeymoon phase. So that's very similar to being love bombed, where it's only what's right, it's only what could be, it's all blissful, wonderful thinking. But if you start off a relationship that way, then really you're starting off with that cycle of abuse. So this is where, we now say butterflies and things like that, and too much excitement, all of those things can actually be a red flag of something horrible to come. But it's really tricky because that's what you hear about in love songs. This is what you see in movies oftentimes, these unrealistic ideals. And so then we set about sort of seeking that out, and that's the very thing that's going to be destructive to our souls sometimes. So first off, one way to escape that blame game trap is if you're starting a relationship and someone is just giving you way too much credit, they're giving you way too many compliments, they're just really doing the most, and it's like a lot, and it almost seems not authentic. If you're not paying attention, you can actually get truly swept off your feet. But if you are paying attention, then it's kind of like, even if that's true, how could you possibly know that? You don't know me that well, right? So even though, I may possess some of those qualities, maybe I've heard that from other people who love me, how can you say that to me when you actually don't even know me that well? So that's one way to start to escape that blame game. But the other thing is being mindful if it's too much, too fast, too soon. Super giant red flag. And I will link a prior video that talks about how to date and how to date safe, how to go slow in relationships. It's a big one, learning to go slow, especially if you're a scapegoat, because we're already looking to not be at fault. We're already, used to being devalued. And so when you find someone who reflects your value and just immediately gives you so much, it can be really enticing. It can be really intoxicating. So this is where part of staying out of that trap is to understand and learn, this actually might not be real. So let me just take a minute. So that's the first thing. Not only that, we learn to chase being a scapegoat. So if someone is doing all of this for us early on, then it's only natural to want to reciprocate. So we want to give that much. We are capable of giving that much. And so then we start giving that much, and we don't really pay attention to how they can withdraw and start to give a lot less. And suddenly you're doing everything. So part of what causes us to chase is that we're chasing that initial love bombing that was so good. And sometimes it's like, I'm never going to find that again. Will I ever be able to feel that again? And you might not. You could feel something different. You could feel something that's better, but better in a different way. But it's pretty hard to beat being love bombed. No one's ever going to love you like that. No one's ever going to make you feel like that. No one's ever going to just be at your beck and call. But you have to realize, that was great and wonderful, but it didn't last because it's not real. Just like the honeymoon can't last, that also, it doesn't last. So it's really hard to sort of let go of that high or that high of standards once you've experienced it, but also being realistic and understanding, but this isn't real. So let's talk more about the blame. So once someone starts off with that love bombing and they just get you sucked in and now you're hooked, then slowly, you don't have as much affection. You're not getting as much attention. You don't receive as much care. And so when you go to your person and you're like, hey, is something wrong? Things feel different. You're either going to get gaslit where they're causing you to question your reality and cause you to question what your eyes see and what your ears hear and even what you're feeling. So that could be one thing, which leaves you to believe something's wrong with me. So then you blame yourself. Or it could be, they could flip it on you and tell you you're not whatever enough. You're not funny enough. You're not fun enough. You're not thin enough. You're too thin. You're too funny. You're too this or too that. So there's always going to be a bottom line where something's wrong with you. And a lot of times, part of that blame game comes with, if you could just do this because you're this, if you could just do this, then I could do this. I could love you. I could show you affection again. I could be intimate with you, right? So they're slowly saying, this is what's wrong with you. And because of this is an explanation for all of my behavior. I'm finally admitting. I'm not talking to you. I'm not, sleeping in the same bed as you. I'm not holding your hand. I'm not opening up to you. I'm not willing to talk about these things with you because you're not safe, because you're this and this and this. So then it's like, okay, well, I'll stop being this and this and this. And then we could go back to how wonderful it was in the beginning. But the problem is that is just a game, because you will find, if you get thinner, it's still not going to matter. If you get funnier, it's not going to matter. If you stop being funny, it's not going to matter. What happens is you slowly only start to become what you think they need you to become so they can love you again. And this is a big way of how we lose ourselves. And that is part of the blame game. That's part of what happens when you're blamed for everything. You slowly take off pieces of yourself, and it's very disarming, because now I feel like, well, if I have a guard up, they're really going to stop telling me what's wrong and how I could be loved. So I'm not going to argue back. I'm not going to defend myself. I'm not going to even try to explain what I was doing. I'm just going to fully take sole responsibility for everything that's wrong in the relationship. And I'm going to work even harder to try to prove that they can love me, try to prove that I'm worthy of them loving me. We don't really think of it as showing someone we're worthy of being loved, but that is what we're doing. We think of it more as, I can't believe this happened. I just want to fix it. Like, we're just focused on fixing it. But what we don't see is you come out a shell of a person. This is why when you are going through a breakup, there are normal breakup things to process. And, the healing is different for everyone, but there's kind of like, a year time, you're doing better after year. It's not prolonged like that. But when you come out of a narcissistic, abusive relationship where you've been the scapegoat, your healing is very different. Because when two people don't work out, and even though they try and they struggle and they fight and have all these things, hopefully you don't feel like you gave your soul up. But when you come out of that narcissistic relationship, they have played so many games with you, including the blame game, that you do feel like you abandoned yourself. You emptied your insides completely out. You gave everything you could to make it work. And some people would say, like, why would you do that? Why would anyone go through that? Why would anyone do that? Like, that seems so obvious, or obviously it's not going to work. If you have to give everything up to be with this person, what is the point of that? But what they don't understand is that it's very systematic. There are oftentimes layers. That person is playing the long game. They are patient with it. And also, it started off better than anything you could have ever imagined in your life. They met every need, took care of you so well. They were so wonderful to you. They just constantly comment on you. So another marker, or a thing that can prick your ear, is when someone dismisses something that's important to you. Now, people get busy, and they don't always give you the attention you needed in that moment. And maybe you didn't express how important this was you're going to talk about. But if they're like making fun of you, if they're putting you down, if they're humiliating you, if they are constantly dismissing your wants and your needs or things that are important, basically, if they are not taking you seriously, there's a good chance you are caught up in a game, because people who respect you take you seriously. So if you say like, hey, could you make sure, if you drive my car, watch I don't know, watch for the bumps because I have a ball bearing going out. And then you drive with them and they're just banging into everything. Now, there are accidents and there's things like that, but it's more like a pattern. You're better off to watch for patterns. So if they consistently are dismissive of your concerns, they are not taking you seriously, that's a giant red flag that you are in line for some games, or you're playing a game right now that you don't even know you're playing, and you're not even going to understand. So to escape that perpetual blame game trap, part of it is understanding, okay, so you're saying this is what's wrong with me and why you can't be kind to me, why you can't talk to me, like the basic courtesies of a relationship. If you're saying something is so wrong with me, you can't show me these basic courtesies so that we can work this out, we don't actually have a relationship. We're playing a game. You're playing a game with me. I'm trying to have a relationship, you're playing a game with me. So it's different if someone's like, I can't commit to marriage until like I see finances cleaned up. That's not what we're talking about. Or, you know, I don't think I could live in a house with you because of the way you keep your house. So that's probably going to be a deal breaker for me. But see, I could still talk to you about that. I could still see if we could come up with the plan and work through that. And if the person's like, I make plenty of money, I'll pay someone to do it. Or I have no problem, I'll foot the bill for the housekeeping. That's fine. And if the other person's like, I don't know, maybe you could try housekeeping on your own and let me see how that goes and how I feel. Who knows, right? But the thing is, we're talking about the problem, even though it's a barrier to moving forward, and we're trying to find a solution that works for both of us. That's very different than, I can't talk to you. I can't be kind to you. I can't show any type of affection to you because this is what's wrong with you, right? Because I think most people who are truly interested in a relationship, if they cross that bridge, they're going to break up. They're going to say like, sorry, this isn't working out. We're just not a good fit. They're not going to say, these are all the reasons why, and this is what's wrong with you. And if you could change these things, then I could, basically what they're saying is love you. Then I could be normal with you. Then I could be kind to you. I could talk to you, right? That is a game. That's a game, because someone that is going to love you, they're going to love you. And they could love you and let you go because it's not a good fit. And that can happen. That's not a game. A game is where someone is teaching you to chase. Someone is getting you to hollow out your insides and slowly separate from yourself over time, and still never reaching a place where they're going to give you what it is they said they're going to give you. That is what a game is. And that's part of how the game blame game works. So painful. This is really what causes so much confusion, so much pain. Scapegoats spend a lot of time crying and really frustrated. So they may find at the beginning of the relationship, after the love bombing ends, that they're fighting all the time. And part of that is because you're almost fighting to maintain your dignity. You're almost fighting to say like, do not say that to me. I don't say things like that to you. Like, this is not okay. I am furious. But then over time, as you keep getting manipulated, you just stop fighting because maybe you stood up for yourself and they didn't talk to you for 3 weeks. And then they pretended like they thought you were broken up. And clearly you did not break up. So there's just so many terrible games. So it's a lot of frustration in the beginning and a lot of fighting. And then it's a lot of confusion. And then it's a lot of like trying. And then it's like tears of frustration. But it can lead to tears of just deep, deep sorrow. Such hurt, such sorrow, such an awful place to be. So again, you can find all of this from my book, A Scapegoat No More Forever. It's available on Amazon. And to escape that blame game, don't give up on you. Don't give up on sticking up for you. And if a person is going to leave you because you won't hollow out your insides, then that person needs to go. But again, early on, the best way that we can retaliate against this and defend against this is just to be mindful of that love bombing. If they're giving you way too many compliments, they're doing way too much for you way too early on, either they have very poor boundaries or it's a game. So take it slow, go slow in your relationships. I hope you check out the other video on how to go slow in your relationships, and I'll also put some more on the screen for you to go watch. I hope you take good care, and I'm going to see you in the next one.